and Malaga by scores of 1-0. Among those victories, a comfortable 5-2 hammering of Real Madrid. GUARDIOLA. Now, we've had some other matches so far on today. We had Madrid play Madrid in the big derby. A goal from Morientes gave Real a comfortable 1-0 lead at half-time, rather in the first half. But Solari equalized just before half-time to make it Atletico Madrid 1, Real Madrid 1. So with this result, Real could find themselves falling behind in the title challenge race. It's set up then for Deportivo versus Barcelona, and we now hand you over to your match commentators Rob Palmer and Jerry Armstrong.
This evening is going to be a silence inside the Nou Camp Stadium, I believe.
Yes, it's a player who recently died, an ex-Barcelona player, Rob.
Perfect silence observed by a stadium which is the size of an average city. Big evening for Senor Cantalejo. Undoubtedly the biggest game he's ever taken charge of. So kicks off the most significant game of the Spanish league season so far this season. Deportivo La Coruña, who've been top of the league for so long and will remain top no matter what the scoreline is tonight, because they have a 4-point lead over second place Alaves against Barcelona, who are just coming good. In the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, progressed to the quarter-finals of the Champions League this week, and gathering strength in the Spanish league as well. And Louis van Gaal has an established, experienced side out tonight. Besides Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United said he fears the most in his bid to regain the Championship of Europe. Well, for Javier Irueta, this could well be make or break, with still 10 rounds of games to go. Play by both of the brothers back in the side together for the first time this millennium in the league. As Frank is playing on the left, Ronald in a more central role. Abelardo, the centre half, who passed a fitness test before the game. DJALMINHA. Which side of DJALMINHA will we see tonight? Brilliant Brazilian who often loses his temper on the big occasion. From MAKAAY, who scored both goals earlier in the season at the Riazor Stadium when Deportivo won 2-1.
Well, it's a decent early ball in, and it's just too tight for Roy MAKAAY to get on target. I think we're going to expect him to weather the storm early on, Rob. I would expect if Barcelona get any opportunity, they're going to put pressure on this Deportivo defence very, very early on.
Could be his last chance of success in La Liga. The man who made the foul, Donato, 37 years of age, 38 in the summer. Rivaldo, the world's best player. So he was voted, though Jerry Armstrong doesn't think he's going to get Player of the Year at Barcelona, do you?
No, my vote would go for FIGO, Luis FIGO. He's been superb this season and easily the best player for Barcelona. Although Rivaldo's just starting to come back into form in the last few weeks, and that sounds very ominous to the opposition.
Deportivo La Coruña is the club that he made his name with. Deportivo La Coruña haven't went away from home since the early weeks of December. They have won their last 2 matches in all competitions. They, of course, beat Arsenal in the second leg of the UEFA Cup when the tie was well beyond them. And last week, some were surprised with the ease in which they beat Valencia, another one of the pretenders to the crown which Barcelona have worn for the last 2 years. Guardiola. Now Rivaldo. Will he put on a show for us tonight? Patrick Kluivert to Cocu. Barcelona, of course, slipped up against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu a couple of weeks ago. They've won 3 of their last 4 matches, that accepted. And the 3 victories in the league have all been 4-0. As we're saying, it was a goal feast at the San Mamés when they beat Bilbao last week.
Well, they were impressive, Rob. I think they had 5 or 6 chances and scored 4 goals. But in saying that, the game last Sunday, which we covered here, against Valencia, Deportivo were superb throughout the full 90 minutes. But their problem's always been away from home, not at home.
Javier Iruetas has won at the Nou Camp as a coach in his Oviedo days back in the early 90s, but as a player, he actually once scored 4 goals in a season against Barcelona, 2 in the league and 2 to knock Barca out of the UEFA Cup in the 1976 season. An aerial picture just gives you a feeling of how imposing this stadium is. Guardiola. Looking for Kluivert. Victor. MAKAAY in support. Flavio Conceição. Pablo. Javier Irueta always stands for games, a little like Kenny Dalglish or Franz Beckenbauer, one of his many strange superstitions. Another one includes staying in the hotel room with an even number.
I heard that statistic a few weeks ago, Rob. It's incredible. He also likes to listen to music, is it, before each game in the hotel.
So this is at the same radio station every week, and apparently does 2 rounds of the statue of Arsenio Iglesias just before the team set off for matches. Former coach of Deportivo La Coruña. Apart from that, he's a pretty normal guy.
I'm not so sure he's saying about if they're going to win all their home games and they need to pick up 4 points away from home. I'm not sure that will be enough for them, because I do feel they'll drop some points before the end of the season, and I think they'll need to pick up more than 4 points away from home. But tonight's game will go a long way to seeing what sort of form they can produce, certainly against Barcelona, who are the informed side at the moment in Spain.
Well, if not Europe, they beat Hertha Berlin with virtually a reserve team in the Champions League in midweek. And 2 of the youngsters, the fringe players, Xavi and Gabri, scored that night. Interestingly, Figo and Abelardo, who were both 1 yellow card away from a ban in the final meaningless game of the group stages, both got booked. So they will now be eligible for the quarter-finals. Didn't see the game, but apparently this man Abelardo and Figo were both testing the referee's patience until he finally had to caution them. Hesp. Now Silva to looking for Roy MAKAAY. Barcelona have had the upper hand, started the stronger in the opening 10 minutes of this game. Deportivo coach Iroeta is very keen to shake off the boring Depor tag, which they've been labelled with. So they've taken a grip of the Spanish league. The refereeing, this is Puyol. Soraya clears the ball. Now Deba. Puyol. Barcelona beginning to gather strength. FIGO rarely misses a cross. But tried to edge it back. RIVALDO. Francisco Fran. It's been a vital injection of experience over the last couple of months. The arms went up there, but super hard. He was keeping everybody on side. MAKAAY's cross. Some very laboured defending from Barcelona.
Yes, it was Abelardo's hand who went up for the offside, but you're right, Bogarde had dropped off 4 or 5 yards and played everyone on. It's still quite an open game, actually. We've just seen a little bit of Deportivo on the counter-attack. They've got that pace of Roy MAKAAY up front, Rob, and they've got DJALMINHA who'll play in the hole. But this is a wonderful early cross from Luis Figo into the near post, and Kluivert tried to lay it off. Unsuccessfully, I might add.
Figo. Ronaldo. Rivaldo's coming at the far post, and he registers the first chance of the game against his former side.
This is great play, Rob, from Ronaldo, right hand side, great ball in deep to the far post. Rivaldo gets up early, heads it down at the near post. Might well have been better going for the far post.
Well, it's interesting that all season Louis van Gaal, the coach, has fiddled with his side, taken squad rotation to the extreme at times. Tonight, he arguably has his 11 most experienced players available to him out on the field. He's not taken any gambles against the league leaders.
I think the only other player that he would actually have on the side would be probably Michael Reisiger. But other than that, Rob, I think that's it. But he's looking for 2 players, 2 world-class players for every position. And he's indicated that on the left-hand side, where this man is playing, is where he feels they're weak. And he could do with another world-class player there.
Rivaldo was voted the best player in Europe, the best player in the world. But of course, even he had a disagreement with the coach just after Christmas, was dropped. Prima donna, the coach called him. The battle of wills was won by the Dutch master.
Well, there was only ever going to be one winner there, Robert, to be honest. But I just feel they've got a fantastic squad. I can understand where Alex Ferguson's coming from when he says that he fears Barcelona, because they have a wonderful squad of players. And I think it's only Lazio and Bayern Munich who can actually push Manchester United or Barcelona for the title this year. European title, that is.
Brian Gaspard, the vice president, the man who pulls the strings at the Nou Camp. Feels powerless up there in the president's box. Frank de Boer. Now, Mauro Silva, the Brazilian World Cup winner. Fran. Deportivo have a sprinkling of Brazilians in their team, but they're not known for their flamboyance. We saw excitement fireworks recently when Barcelona played Real Madrid. Real won 3-0. We saw a cracking game between Deportivo and Real, which finished 5-2 to Deportivo. But tonight, I think it's going to be a a battle of mental strength rather than exciting, flowing, carefree football, Jerry?
Yeah, I think so. I think also the fact that, well, the position in the league, how close Barcelona are to them, the pressure that's been put on Deportivo, I think a lot of questions will be answered tonight.
From Francisco Fran, took a deflection off Abelardo. Fran's hoping for double celebration because he became a father for the first time yesterday. The big man forward for Deportivo, and this is where sometimes Barcelona show a weakness. Ivan coming back and helping a big head, and that was a half-decent shot from Enrique Romero.
He's a tall fullback who likes to get forward, and he's confident enough to hit this one on the half volley. He wasn't far away. It's just rising. I think Ruud Hess had it covered. But just look at it from this angle here. Confident to come on and strike at half volley. Just over the top.
Figo. Rivaldo. Guardiola to Abelardo. Interesting ball, seeking Rivaldo. If he can't keep it in play, nobody in the world can.
I think he was at full stretch there. It wasn't the best of passes for me, and there's the Dutch duo come to watch the game. Manager and assistant manager.
Well, here tonight watching almost the Dutch national team out there with the De Boer brothers, Cocu, Kluivert, Reiziger sitting on the bench. Hesping goal for Barcelona, though he's not actually very often in the national team squad. And of course for Deportivo La Coruña there's another Dutchman in Roy MAKAAY. In fact, there's more Dutchmen on the field than there are Spaniards tonight. Deportivo get the point that they've set themselves as a minimum target tonight, which would give them a 3-point lead of the championship. Alaves are in second place. They have a tough game against Celta Vigo tomorrow. Alaves are excellent. They haven't lost away from home for 3 months now. Pablo Guardiola. Rivaldo to Winston Bahani, the most unnatural looking left back anybody's ever seen. 6'3", 17 stone. And he's slotted in there with injuries to Sergi and Zenden. Here's Figo. Great looping cross. In comes Rivaldo again. Frank de Boer. Bahani is turning into a bit of a cult figure at the Nou Camp. Guardiola. Puyol. Figo wants it on that far right touchline. Loose challenge from Enrique Romero, newly capped by the Spanish manager Camacho. He's going to have to watch his step tonight against Figo.
That's clever play from Figo. He flicks it with the outside of his right boot and wins the free kick. But I think Romero's got the toughest job on the park tonight to try and keep this man quiet. He's scoring goals. His crossing of the ball is exemplary, and I just feel he's in great form at the moment.
There's a two-man wall which has been placed in the way of this free kick. Let's point out that the man standing over it is Rivaldo. Don't put it past him to shoot. Plays it in early, trying to catch Deportivo flat-footed. That's Guardiola.
Well, there's a lot of appeals for offside, Rob, but Donato just hovered a little bit inside the penalty area and he played Cocu on.
Rivaldo. Stage is set for a world-class performance from Rivaldo. Now he looked to score against the club who gave him his break in Spanish football. He scored 21 goals in his full season at the Riazor Stadium. Rather nervous-looking Songu. No need to be. And the pressure is still on that Deportivo defence. Of stars coming out to play in the Deportivo penalty area. Songo had his view blocked. It's a clever play to get in his way. And Patrick Kluivert accused of handling the ball.
Yes, I think he was a little bit unfortunate there. It was appeals from the Deportivo players that won him the free kick from Senor Cantalejo. I thought that hit him on the chest. Let's have a look. Jalmina, a little bit of skills, hits him on the chest. You see the appeal from Jalmina, and Scherer wins it in their favour.
There was an element of surprise when this game was awarded to Senor Cantalejo. He's one of the youngest referees in Spanish football, top flight football. It's only his second season in the Primera Division, only his 30th game. But, this is 90 minutes of football, which is really going to shape the season in Spain. Figo, Kluivert goes through. Pablo deciding to play sweeper, and well, it was emergency action taken by Deportivo La Coruña, but they do escape. Toyol. Kluivert lets it go, headed away by Scherer. Cocu, Guardiola, Kluivert. Romero tries to clear the ball with a little help from Fran. Yabar. Well, I know those who saw the Deportivo Arsenal game on Sky Sports may disagree, but it is ironic that the team who conceded 5 against Arsenal actually do pride themselves on the defensive excellence normally.
Yes, I mean, defensively they've been very good all season. I think the lineup that Arsenal faced that night with 3 really attacking players, Turu Flores, Jalmina and Roy MAKAAY, I thought that was the wrong lineup for Aroueta to play at Highbury. And obviously they paid the penalty for it, but
Jalmina there was sent off in the game as well, which didn't help. But
if you remember 3-4 years ago when John Toshak was in charge at Deportivo, he had the best defence in the league, and they were renowned for that.
Figo squirms around Romero, and that's a wonderful cross. Kicked out of the air by Jacques Songu. Songu has been probably the most consistent goalkeeper in Spanish football over the last 3 or 4 seasons. He won the Zamora Trophy 3 seasons back. Trophy for statistically the best goalkeeper in Spain. Form-wise, he's been one of the best this season.
Well, the one thing you'll say about Songu, he does make mistakes sometimes, but he is always very positive.
No goals here, no goals in the other match, which is being played simultaneously in Spain, Valencia and Malaga. It's 0-0 at the moment. Figo. De Boer. Kluivert. Figo again. All of the best chances have come from him, and he set up a goal for Patrick Kluivert. That could be such an important goal come the final count. In a game of major significance, Barcelona take the lead. They crack this normally resolute Deportivo defence. It's a world-class combination. Figo and Patrick Kluivert. The day after St. Patrick's Day.
Well, it's certainly been Patrick's Day so far. Patrick Kluivert, that is. But again, I just said earlier, Rob, that Romero had the toughest job for me, trying to mark Luis Figo. Wonderful ball into the near post with pace on it, and Kluivert's tremendous run into the near post, glancing header. There's no goalkeeper in the world that's stopped that, and that's just the start that Louis van Gaal wanted.
So Barcelona 1 goal up. Deportivo had to come out of their defensive shell. MAKAAY. Mauro Silva. Flavio. Little run, and it's a little wide for MAKAAY. Took a diving stop from Abelardo. Defence is not Barcelona's strength. They wouldn't be advised to sit back and defend a 1-goal lead. Rivaldo. Stopped by his Brazilian international teammates of old, Mauro Silva. Flavio. Gives it for MAKAAY. Better from Deportivo, and yet got into their stride in this magnificent stadium. Fireworks display has begun, and this is what ignited it.
Well, Rob, I just don't know how you stop that. He took one touch, Figo, and as he was being closed down by Romero, he just whipped that vicious cross into the near post. Fabulous ball in, and a great goal. Let's see if we can see a response from Deportivo, because 1-0, it's not conclusive.
Deportivo have been leading the championship in Spain for 17 rounds of games since November, when they beat Seville 5-2, Sevilla 5-2. Again gets touchy about the pronunciation. Guardiola, Puyol, great turn. Had to be stopped by Thuram. Puyol has been a young player who's broken through on a regular basis this season for Barcelona. They have a few on the fringe, but he's the one who's made the break, so much so that Michael Reisiger, former Ajax Champions Cup winner, is on the bench tonight. Puyol, who's come through the youth system, gets his call up, but he's allowed MAKAAY in here. That's a big save by Hesp. Well, that was an important save from Ruud Hesp. Mauro Silva. Well, Deportivo fighting back, way off target. The attempt from Flavio.
I think he almost put the kiss of death on young Puyol there. It was he that made the mistake. Fran's ball through. He's just caught out, and Romero comes in, and he cracks this with his left foot, and Hesp saves it with his legs, but that was almost the perfect response.
This was the turn at one end of the field from Puyol, and then he had to race 100 yards and chase the man he'd put the ball around, Romero. Abelado. It's like Roy MAKAAY down there.
Yes, it does, actually. I think there was a foul at the other end, and as Kluivert was fouled, the referee, Senor Candalejo, noticed MAKAAY was injured on the far end of the pitch. I didn't quite see what happened to him, though. I think we're going to see now. Oh, it's a clash of heads. It's accidental from Frank de Boer.
There's the goal again. Absolute perfection. The cross and the finish.
Bloody nose for Roy MAKAAY. A bit like Deportivo at the moment, Rob. They're wounded, but they're not dead yet.
FIGO. Flavio. Ferrer. Creative department of Deportivo's lacking, and Kluivert's, well, I was going to say looking deadly. He's looking so sharp tonight, Patrick Kluivert. Already scored his 18th goal of the season, almost scored his 19th there, but for some smart goalkeeping from Jacques Songu. It's an element of good fortune for the Cameroon keeper.
Yes, but I think you earn your luck. He came out off his line, spread himself well, and I think he deserves the good fortune. And there's the man who's got his work cut out tonight, Romero, trying to keep Luis Figo happy. That's clever play from Patrick Kluivert. He's so powerful, two-footed, good reflexes from Jacques Songu.
Puyol forces the corner. Dives back on the field. His nose has stopped bleeding. It's bleeding hearts for Deportivo at the moment. And Ibar's Navalado up from the back. Initially came off the back of, I think it was Frank de Boer there. Rivaldo's cross, headed away by Nairo Silva. Puyol. Mr. Bohari. Guardiola. Casual stroller in midfield and digs the ball over the top. Here's Rivaldo. Danger! And Songu can't keep it out. There's just too much dynamite for Deportivo to handle. If you give him a glimpse of goal, he'll make you pay the price. A fantastic finish from Rivaldo, but look at the pass from Guardiola. Well, chipped it over the top, nonchalant. It could have been Kluivert's, it could have been Rivaldo's, and it fell onto that lethal left foot. Too hot for Songu to handle.
Yes, but I was saying, Rob, I think that's what it's all about in terms of this flat back four of Deportivo, trying to play offside. On the right-hand side, it's Manuel Pablo who plays them on. And he's a little bit unlucky there, Jacques Songu. You're right, it's the pace of the shot from Rivaldo. It spins up off his left hand, hits the post and goes in. Unfortunately, is not on Deportivo's side tonight. But that does look like a killer goal just before half-time.
Well, the ball slipped from his grasp, and the championship could be slipping from his team's grasp.
Yes, I think the title race is definitely on now. There's no doubt about it. But do you not feel that Deportivo, since they conceded the goal, have just been a little bit unsteady and lacking in a little bit of confidence, not winning away from home in their last 6 games? It looks like it's going to be 7 games now away from home without winning, and I don't know, they're not the same side away from home as they are at home. There's no doubt about that.
Ask Arsenal.
Yeah.
Looks powerless to stop the beautiful Barcelona. They play some excellent football, always entertaining to watch. And at home, it's a well-oiled machine. Occasionally they have a little problem. They've lost twice this season at the Nou Camp. They've won 10 out of the 13 games here.
Oh, there's a great strike from Rivaldo. You know what he's going to do on that left foot from that range. He was always going to hit the target.
I can only think of one better left foot in the world, and that belongs to his Brazilian teammate Roberto Carlos of Real Madrid.
But with power, from power point of view, yeah, DJALMINHA's got a great left foot though as well, and they don't quite score the same amount of goals though as this man.
Oh, Rivaldo cruelly taken out of the game. The referee has to decide whether that was accidental or not, or whether it was professional and intentional. He shows the yellow card to Giroud, a man who doesn't have a very good reputation. He's been sent off 5 times in the last 2 seasons. If there's an element of doubt, I suppose it goes on his name and reputation.
Well, we've called him an Argentinian hitman in the past, and you can see that's
mafioso
exactly
there, isn't it?
He definitely makes sure that the ball goes past him, but not the man. And bang.
Film of his footballing life. They could get someone like Robert De Niro to play his character, couldn't they? Guardiola. It's dishevelled Deportivo. They need a goal, they need a goal quickly. The match, and who knows, maybe the season is beginning to slip away from them. Rivaldo. You can only assume it was for protesting too much.
Well, it might have been a little bit of a late challenge on Flavio. I think the referee allowed the advantage rule, and then when the ball went out of play, just here.
It looks as though it's Bohardi.
Bohardi definitely hit him second, but maybe it was for the pulling. The initial challenge from Rivaldo, that's the only thing I can think of, but he certainly got a yellow card.
And now, another flash of yellow. This time, Bohardi is cautioned.
That's definitely a very, very late and wayward challenge from Winston Bohardi.
Deportivo, they're chasing the goal they need. Now, frenzied pack in the penalty area. Flavio. Mauro Silva. Rivaldo showing his immense skills, but his goalkeeper Hesp didn't appreciate it. He wanted the great whack to the halfway line. Instead, Barcelona can't at the moment transfer the pressure. Deportivo are digging in.
It's Donato who's fouled by Figo and then Cocu, and it's a good response from Deportivo. They're just trying to get themselves a goal to bring themselves back into the game before half-time.
DJALMINHA, element of surprise. Flavio. Guardiola getting back. Great interception by the skipper, the man who set up that second goal. Psychologically an important period of the game. Led by De Boer. Deportivo have gathered a little bit of strength, found a bit of resolve. MAKAAY has had little effect this evening.
He's not had a lot of support. I mean, he's been playing up front on his own. DJALMINHA's playing in the hole about 10 or 15 yards behind him. And there's not been an awful lot of support from midfield for him. But in the last 5 minutes, they've stepped it up a gear. And they put Barcelona under a certain amount of pressure. But Ruud Hesp hasn't had too many saves to make, Rob, and I like to see the goalkeeper tested.
What do you call that, Jerry? Showboating by Rivaldo.
Showboating.
Hesp. Crisply to Puyol. Figo. Now Guardiola. Figo. Barcelona slip through the gears. Guardiola's cross, and Pablo couldn't afford to make a mistake. At the moment, the football they're playing, they're positively purring. Guardiola. Rivaldo. Al-Bahadi. Contrasting styles and poise between those two. Rivaldo. Guardiola. So much space for Figo to work in. He only needs an inch. He's got yards, he puts it across, and Songu to the rescue. Puyol. Private. Rivaldo. Hardy. To Guardiola, the man of influence. Figo. Man of flamboyance. Looking for the men of goals. Kluivert and Rivaldo. It's been a stuttering performance from Deportivo La Coruña. Figo hasn't put in, I was going to say a bad cross all evening. He's got the crosses in, he's got them in early. He's providing the food on which Rivaldo and Kluivert are feasting.
I think with Figo, anything inside that 6-yard box, you know Jacques Songu's going to come for it. But the first goal was actually in front of the near post, and he had no chance on that. So I'd hold no blame at all with Jacques Songu for either of the two goals. And there's that little bit of showboating from Rivaldo. No doubt Tim and Hales Bells will be taking note of that one for next Saturday's show.
to say it's a rather sober atmosphere inside the new camp tonight. Fans gave the players an incredible reception when they came onto the pitch. Maybe it's been a little bit too easy for their liking. Deportivo La Coruña have never won at the new camp. Incredible statistics in 29 visits. Barcelona have won 24, 5 have been tied. Last year it was 4-0. But look at this year, Rivaldo. Minutes of stoppage time to be added on in the first half. FIGO winds himself up for the big shot. Blocked by Romero. Guardiola could have put the cross in there, but wisely just lets it trickle out of play. 2-0 at half-time. I'm sure Barcelona have followed Louis van Gaal's plan to the letter.
It's not just that, it's the fact that they've got so many talented players in this team that are good at keeping the ball.
And Malaga by scores of 1-0. Among those victories, a comfortable 5-2 hammering of Real Madrid. GUARDIOLA. Now, we've had some other matches so far on today. We had Madrid play Madrid in the big derby. A goal from Morientes gave Real a comfortable 1-0 lead at half-time, in the first half. But Solari equalized just before half-time to make it Atletico Madrid 1, Real Madrid 1. So with this result, Real could find themselves falling behind in the title challenge race. It's set up then for Deportivo versus Barcelona, and we now hand you over to your match commentators Rob Palmer and Jerry Armstrong.
Again this evening is going to be a silence inside the Nou Camp Stadium, I believe.
Yes, it's a player who recently died, an ex-Barcelona player, Rob.
Perfect silence observed by a stadium which is the size of an average city. Big evening for Senor Cantalejo. Undoubtedly the biggest game he's ever taken charge of. So kicks off the most significant game of the Spanish league season so far this season. Deportivo La Coruña, who've been top of the league for so long and will remain top no matter what the scoreline is tonight, because they have a 4-point lead over second place Alaves against Barcelona, who are just coming good. In the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, progressed to the quarter-finals of the Champions League this week, and gathering strength in the Spanish league as well. And Louis van Gaal has an established, experienced side out tonight. Besides Sir Alex Ferguson of Manchester United, said he fears the most in his bid to regain the Championship of Europe. For Javier Irueta, this could well be make or break, with still 10 rounds of games to go. Both of the brothers back in the side together for the first time this millennium in the league. As Frank is playing on the left, Ronald in a more central role. Abelardo, the centre half, who passed a fitness test before the game. DJALMINHA Which side of DJALMINHA will we see tonight? Brilliant Brazilian who often loses his temper on the big occasion. Header from MAKAAY, who scored both goals earlier in the season at the Riazor Stadium when Deportivo won 2-1.
Well, it's a decent early ball in, and it's just too tight for Roy MAKAAY to get on target. I think we're going to expect him to weather the storm early on, Rob. I would expect if Barcelona get any opportunity, they're going to put pressure on this Deportivo defence very, very early on.
Could be his last chance of success in La Liga. The man who made the foul, Donato, 37 years of age, 38 in the summer. Rivaldo, the world's best player. That's what he was voted. Though Jerry Armstrong doesn't think he's going to get Player of the Year at Barcelona, do you?
No, my vote would go for FIGO, Luis FIGO. He's been superb this season and easily the best player for Barcelona. Although Rivaldo's just starting to come back into form in the last few weeks. And that sounds very ominous to the opposition.
Deportivo La Coruña is the club that he made his name with. Deportivo La Coruña haven't went away from home since the early weeks of December. They have won their last 2 matches in all competitions. They, of course, beat Arsenal in the second leg of the UEFA Cup when the tie was well beyond them. And last week, some were surprised with the ease in which they beat Valencia, another one of the pretenders to the crown which Barcelona have worn for the last 2 years. Guardiola. Now Rivaldo. Will he put on a show for us tonight? Patrick Kluivert to Cocu. Barcelona, of course, slipped up against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu a couple of weeks ago. They've won 3 of their last 4 matches, that accepted, and the 3 victories in the league have all been 4-0. As we're saying, it was a goal feast at the San Mamés when they beat Bilbao last week.
Well, they were impressive, Rob. I think they had 5 or 6 chances and scored 4 goals. But in saying that, the game last Sunday, which we covered here, against Valencia, Deportivo were superb throughout the full 90 minutes. But their problems always...
And Malaga by scores of 1-0. Among those victories, a comfortable 5-2 hammering of Real Madrid. GUARDIOLA. Now, we've had some other matches so far on today. We had Madrid play Madrid in the big derby. A goal from Morientes gave Real a comfortable 1-0 lead at half-time, in the first half. But Solari equalized just before half-time to make it Atletico Madrid 1, Real Madrid 1. So with this result, Real could find themselves falling behind in the title challenge race. It's set up then for Deportivo versus Barcelona, and we now hand you over to your match commentators Rob Palmer and Jerry Armstrong.
The game this evening is going to be a silence inside the Nou Camp Stadium, I believe.
Yes, it's a player who recently died, an ex-Barcelona player, Rob.
Perfect silence observed by a stadium which is the size of an average city. Big evening for Senor Cantalejo. Undoubtedly the biggest game he's ever taken charge of. So kicks off the most significant game of the Spanish league season so far this season. Deportivo La Coruña, who've been top of the league for so long and will remain top no matter what the scoreline is tonight, because they have a 4-point lead over second place Alaves against Barcelona, who are just coming good. In the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, progressed to the quarter-finals of the Champions League this week, and gathering strength in the Spanish league as well. And Louis van Gaal has an established, experienced side out tonight. Besides Sir Alex Ferguson of Manchester United, said he fears the most in his bid to regain the Championship of Europe. For Javier Irueta, this could well be make or break, with still 10 rounds of games to go.
Well, we now have our match commentators online. They are Rob Palmer and Jerry Armstrong.
This vitally significant game. Barcelona have won their last 4 games at home. Deportivo in all competitions haven't won in 7 away. Oh! And the course of the game is changed within 20 seconds of the second half starting. Flavio with a lucky deflection gives Deportivo La Coruña a little injection of hope.
I think this is exactly what the game needed, Rob. It takes a huge deflection, takes a lot of spin. I think it's Frank de Boer comes off, and it goes right up over the top. We can see here, right up over the top of Ruud Hesby, no chance. And this is just what the game needed.
Game on.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Irueta said, go on then, let's try and get an early goal and make a game of it, but beyond the wildest dreams of the Spanish league leaders, defending isn't Barcelona's forte. Guardiola. Hesby could do absolutely nothing at all about that. It was a potluck shot from Flavio. Deflection and a spin, deceiving the goalkeeper.
That got them off the bench in the Deportivo area, didn't it?
Put Barcelona on the seat of their pants. Puyol. One thing it has done as well is quieten the Barcelona supporters. FIGO. Oh, he rounds Romero with ease. He's only got Kluivert to aim for. Rivaldo drifted in from the wing, but it's all a bit too quick. Hardy to Koku, to Guardiola. Romero, no risks. FIGO. Fouled by Francisco Fran, skipper of the Deportivo side, dreaming of lifting the championship trophy. Off the ball incident there involving Guardiola, which the referee clearly didn't see. Puyol. Gabur to Bahari. FIGO. The first half performance from Barcelona, I think you described it as mechanical, Jared.
Yes, very professional, mechanical. I mean, they seem to go up a gear. I was talking at half-time with you, Robin, was saying about they went up a gear after about 20 minutes and played well for 12 minutes. Got their 2 goals. And then they just sort of close up shop. But what we were saying also was we really did need Deportivo to score a goal. Otherwise, you could see Barcelona keeping ball. And now there's a response from Barcelona. That long-range shot from Rivaldo has spurred them into action.
Rivaldo. Seems to come in from the wing for the start of the second half and interchanging with Kluivert. There's the Flavio goal again, which completely flummoxed Ruud Hesp. Great challenge, the referee opting to allow play to continue. Probably the most nervous player on the pitch is the man in green. He hasn't always looked in complete control of the game. Senor Cantalejo. Now Flavio is booked. That's the master plan. Louis van Gaal. It's been a goal at Mestalla Stadium. Angulo has put Valencia ahead against Malaga. Valencia, of course, doing well in the Champions League. Won last week. So in the Spanish League, they're in 6th place. Well, it's 40 yards out. It's maybe DJALMINHA territory. He's not had the polish of Rivaldo tonight. When Barcelona have been beaten at the Nou Camp this season, it's been by low-ranking sides. Numancia, Racing Santander, the only teams to win here. The other 12 sides have all been beaten. Nibbling away, coming away with the ball. Mr. Bahadi, who's most natural-looking central defender, converted into a left-back by Louis van Gaal. Other people thought Van Gaal was joking when he chose him ahead of Sergi and Zenden in that position. The man's a visionary, Louis van Gaal, who's won a trophy in every year of his coaching life. Rivaldo, Kluivert, takes his time and went for the flamboyant touch. Interesting, just looking through the team, Jerry, we were mentioning it at half-time. So the three superstars there, Kluivert and Rivaldo and FIGO, but absolutely everybody in the starting lineup has had an issue with the selection of Louis van Gaal at some stage this season.
We went through 7. You look at the two De Boer, Frank and Ronald De Boer. He's fallen out with them. Hesp as well, who's only just come back into the side. But when they come back into the side again, like Hesp has and Guardiola and Frank and Ronald De Boer, they look so much more hungry and more effective, and he always proves a point for me.
Crossed by Victor. Well, at some stage this season, Louis van Gaal has, it doesn't like the word dropped, but deselected virtually every play. Even Rivaldo was left out for a couple of games, and the De Boer brothers have had a couple of months where they've been on the sidelines. Patrick Kluivert was disciplined at one stage. FIGO had a fallout. Tonight it's Reisinger's turn to sit alongside the coach on the bench. It's all about control, it's all about mind manipulation.
But I do feel you can't peak in every game, certainly as a professional footballer, and for me, Louis van Gaal's correct when he has to rotate the squad. It's just sometimes I think he tinkers with it too much, and that's probably one of the reasons why they've lost 9 league games this season, which is unheard of for Barcelona, especially with the squad of players they have.
Well, they're going treble. The semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, the quarter-finals of the Champions League, catching up with Deportivo La Coruña in the Primera Division. Jalmina, you can see from that picture, pleading for help. Jalmina's corner should be Hesp's. He struggled a little bit with Hesp, who this week signed a one-year extension to his contract at the new camp. There was talk of him leaving in the summer, especially after he was dropped a few weeks ago. Victor's cross. FIGO. Adebar. Looking long. Landing Koku. Guardiola. Bohadi. Barcelona begin to gather momentum. Great skills from the big man. Good cross as well, and Songo had to make the catch. Well, he was an unpopular figure when he first signed for the Catalan club. But Bohadi has turned into probably one of the most popular players with all of the fans.
It's incredible the response he gets from them now. I mean, chance of Olé every time he does a piece of skill or trick. I just wonder what this is. Fantastic play here. He turns Manuel Pablo inside out, the big man, and then a great ball into the box. And Johan Neeskens and Frank Rijkaard are here watching tonight. I wonder what they make of it all.
Danger for Barcelona is that they press the self-destruct button, which they're prone to doing every now and again. Nara Silva in trouble with the referee. Too much talking. He's only a couple of years younger than the ref. Pauleta, striker, limbering up for Deportivo.
That would make it very interesting if they put Pauleta on up front with Roy MAKAAY and really did go for it.
There's Kluivert. Stopped by Donato, or half stopped by Donato. Puyol. Great thing about Barcelona and the ethos of Van Gaal is that he does encourage trickery from his players. Disappointing evening. He hasn't been in best of form recently. He's actually been replaced in his last 5 matches.
Well, it's great close control from Puyol. He was possibly fouled there by Fran, but didn't get anything for his troubles.
Guardiola. Much debate in Spain whether Guardiola should be a permanent fixture in the team. Untouchable, think the fans. Remember, this is a player who used to be a ball boy at the new camp. There's a picture with the team from 1986, which got to the Champions or the European Cup final as it was then. proudly displayed with his many medals at home. The one remaining member of Johan Cruyff's 1992 dream team, but Louis van Gaal's given him a few nightmares this season. DJALMINHA's cross. Catani, who's back in the Malaga team tonight, has equalised at the Estella Stadium. Meanwhile, there's going to be a change of personnel for Deportivo La Coruña as we approach the hour mark. Victor, who's had an ineffective game, is coming off, and on will come Paletta.
Well, this is a good gamble from Irueta. He's going to put Paletta up front. Very good goal scorer in and around the penalty area. Basically, they've got nothing to lose. He's got half an hour to make a mark in the game, and they're searching for this equaliser.
Paletta is a natural goal scorer. He's scored 11 this season, but he hasn't been a regular starter for Deportivo. Most of his goals have come when he's been introduced as a replacement. And he's right into the thick of the action. He's fouled by Puyol, the referee allowing the play to floor. Flavio, stopped by De Boer. The Dutch twins have had a calming influence on Barcelona. Rivaldo, Figo, Puyol, time Louis van Gaal and Irueta went head-to-head. Deportivo won at the Riazor Stadium in October. Barcelona went on a run of 4 successive losses. They were struggling mid-season, an awful November. Since then, they've come back. They are clearly the favourites in Spain again, despite a 5-point gap between Barcelona and the leaders Deportivo before kick-off tonight. De Boer, Cocu, Abelardo, again Jerry, which has surprisingly lacked a little bit of zip.
Well, some of the passing in this last 5-6 minutes has been very poor from both sides. I mean, Barcelona particularly giving the ball away very easily without a lot of pressure being applied.
The next goal scored in this game was so vital. Barcelona make it 3, the game's beyond Deportivo. Deportivo could get an equaliser. Really would open things up. Guardiola. De Boer. Figo getting to float around the field. Rivaldo. Bahari. And he could see his intention was to feed it there to Figo, and the ball's nonchalantly given back to the goalkeeper, who's standing virtually on his line.
It's actually a great ball into the box, right across the 6-yard box, first-time ball. I think the fact that he played it first time with such accuracy surprised Rivaldo and Figo. Kluivert had pulled right out of deep at the far post, was looking for a more deeper cross, but certainly one of the two, and Rivaldo or Figo, should have taken a gamble to get into the 6-yard box.
Donato. surprisingly tonight, Nibet is left on the bench, and they've had to call up a rookie keeper you saw there, Danny Mayo. Yeah, the normal deputy keeper. Peter Kuba was injured in training. Abelardo, Figo, Gabba, Rivaldo, now Korku. He's had a quietly effective game in midfield. Flavio. He's had an outstanding season for Deportivo La Coruña. Not over-skilled for a Brazilian, but just through an immense amount of work. Figo. Watch those feet. If you blink, you'll miss something. Great cross. Played back in, and Songu had to come diving off his line very bravely. Just a fingertip touch which prevented a third goal for Barcelona.
I think as if anybody needs reminding, whenever the ball goes wide right to Figo, it really does look like trouble for Deportivo.
Rivaldo keeps going, and that's the only way to stop him, is to take him out of the game like that. That could well be a red card. Well, who's to argue, had he gone through then, he wouldn't have scored. There's major concern from the Barcelona fans, because Rivaldo looks to be in some trouble here.
Yes, it's little Fran who's chasing him. Makes a last-ditch challenge to try and stop him getting into the box. Smash and run, though. Look at the control and the strength and pace of Rivaldo. I'm not sure he could have got on the end of it, but look at this. This is wonderful play from Figo. Great ball deep to the far post.
This is where Rivaldo had the chance, and it was an important save by Songu.
Well, this is definitely within Rivaldo's range, as the fans are shouting, Rivaldo, Rivaldo.
Well, the silly thing is, Jerry, because he's injured, he can't come on the field and take the free kick. He's got to go off before he can come back on.
Yes.
So he's not going to take it.
Well, there's still Luis Figo.
Or maybe Korku. Scaloni is probably going to be introduced any moment now by Deportivo. And interestingly, Rivaldo is allowed back on the field. You have to concentrate when Rivaldo's hitting the free kick, and Songu didn't see it. Well, that was a major let-off for Deportivo, because I think it hit the post and then came back and hit Songu. Did he actually get a touch to that? I think he did.
Well, it's an inch away from being inside of the post and in the back of the net. And again, for me, the best free kick taker in the world is this man here.
Well, Roberto Carlos has all of the power, as he produced against Barcelona, but more often than not, Rivaldo hits the target. Figo. Slightly overhead.
Just get the feeling, though, that at the moment, in the last 7 or 8 minutes, Barcelona stepped it up a gear, and it's as if at will they can just produce or provide the ammunition for Kluivert to score goals. And I wouldn't be surprised if they scored another one very shortly.
It's been a hectic month for Barcelona. They've got 10 games scheduled in March, 5 in the league, 5 in the Champions League. So far, they've won them all. Rivaldo, catch me if you can. The way to stop him is to foul. Well, they may only have a single goal lead, but he believes it's time to pull out the party tricks. Watch this.
He is a Brazilian after
Coming
all.
Up there. FIGO, 5 to aim for. Hardy came flying in. Rivaldo. Hardy takes up another position. Songu uncertain. Paletta. It's going to be Barcelona's throw. Paletta's making a change. On will come Lionel Scaloni, who's more of a midfield player, isn't he? Adds a bit of strength. Powerful player.
I think they're going to take Roy MAKAAY off. I think he's been tired. He is. He's been taken off, and Scaloni will probably play in a more attacking role with Paletta. As I say, they've got to gamble. They're 2-1 down. There's 20 minutes left. They've absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Manuel Scaloni, who's a young Argentinian international, just playing with a lot of promise. He hasn't really delivered yet in the couple of seasons he's been at the club. Always been on the fringes. What better time to establish yourself? Let's try that trick again, and it's worked. Rivaldo. Abelardo. FIGO. Figo's been given a surprising amount of freedom tonight. Anything Rivaldo can do, he can do. Valencia have taken a 2-1 lead against Malaga. Angulo, who scored his second goal of the game. Valencia 2, Malaga 1. The significance of that is that Malaga are the next opponents of Barcelona in the league. Barca actually have a Champions League game. This week they play against Prague, which is a mere formality now for Barcelona. They won their group. They're going to be seeded in the quarterfinals after their 50th European Cup victory in midweek. FIGO. Despairing look from Portuguese international. Bad news for Deportivo is that DJALMINHA seems to have overstretched himself.
Yes, he's been carrying that for a few minutes now. Rob, a groin strain it looks like, and another problem for Javier Irueta.
Guardiola. Koku. Wahari. Deba. Well, moments ago he was hobbling around like an old man, but seems to have found a little bit of spring from somewhere. Rivaldo. Unnecessary challenge which floored him. The apology accepted. It was Scaloni. Meanwhile, Turu Flores, another Argentinian, who's going to be blooded any time now, and DJALMINHA's thigh strain is proving too painful for him to live with, and he's going to roll off the field any moment now.
That was a high challenge from Luis Figo on Romero.
It's a disconsolate DJALMINHA, and this is a major blow to Deportivo, losing the most influential, creative player.
It's saying that he's not done an awful lot tonight, and Turu Flores is the sort of player strong on the ball, was the top goal scorer last season for Deportivo, and cracks a shot in both feet, so I think he's an able deputy. The Endoiro, the president, looked very ominous, didn't he?
Well, he's a Jack Walker type figure who's pumped millions into the club to try and bring success. They always seem to fall head first at the final hurdle. Stretch it off is their most inspirational figure, DJALMINHA. On comes another man with that South American swagger, Turu Flores. 6 goals this season, all in the league. And that's all 3 substitutions used now, isn't it, by Deportivo La Coruña? They've fallen foul of making too many changes too soon already this season. It was against Sevilla. They made the swaps. Song, who got sent off, and Flavio had to go in goal. Rivaldo throws back the trigger. Going to be a corner. Notice how he overstretched himself. Rivaldo's curl. And it was all a little bit too hurried for Gabor. Ronald, that is.
It was, but this man here, Winston Bogarde, he missed it at the near post, and I felt if he had made any contact at all, there was a great opportunity for Barcelona to extend their lead. Just as the ball comes in here, you can see Bogarde arrives and he misses it. He doesn't really catch or make contact fully on the ball.
Rivaldo. 13 minutes to go. A game which is maybe Jerry in need of a little inspiration from somewhere.
Well, I thought Barcelona were going to respond after that early goal from Deportivo, but it's just gone into a little bit of a lull. And maybe if Deportivo started pushing more players forward, we'll see Barcelona trying to capitalise on the counter-attack. At the moment, they're still fairly comfortable for me, Barcelona. Ruud Hesp hasn't really had a shot to save in the second half.
Figo. Stop Bernardo Silva. If they could get the equalising goal, I'm sure Deportivo La Coruña would settle for a draw. Turu Flores. Scaloni. Manuel Pablo. Tops by the spidery legs of Winston Bogarde. Turu Flores. See, he was playing for the corner. I thought he'd won it there. Guardiola was signalling to the bench that he wanted a change made. Dehu is stripping off.
Yes, he is signalling. I'm not sure if it's him or someone else, but certainly Dehu is the man that's coming on. He's a central defender, and it's straight swap for Abelardo. He must be carrying an injury.
Well, he was. He passed the fitness test just before the game, Abelardo. He has a leg strain. He's managed to survive until the final 10 minutes. Barcelona certainly don't want to take any risks as they enter a vital period of the game. Abelardo, who's been outstanding this season, is given a rest. For the weak link, and on comes the French international Frédéric Dehu, and who won the league with the Lens in his native land. As you said before, though, Jerry, for every player that Louis van Gaal has, he has a clone sitting on the bench or in the stands.
I think he'd be sitting a lot easier in the stands or on the bench there if they had another goal, if they were 3-1 up. But you can see Abelardo would certainly not have come off if he wasn't carrying some sort of a strain.
Well, he is the consummate professional. He's probably putting the team's well-being ahead of his own side. Palette has found it difficult to get into the flow of the game. Was he offside?
Well, as the ball's played, it's a tight one. I think maybe just offside, but not by a lot. Looks like there's another substitution going to be made.
It's Patrick Kluivert coming off, who has looked a little jaded in the second half. I think it's going to be Simão to come on. Polite applause from the Barcelona fans. In fact, it's Gabri who scored in midweek in the Champions League. He's had a spell out of the team, but another local lad made good. Takes up a position. We have two of the greatest exponents of the free kick, Figo and Rivaldo, standing over the ball. No, that volley wouldn't have thought so.
There's just been a big change, obviously, in their shape with Gabri coming on. He's going to play in the middle of the park and anchor the midfield alongside Guardiola. Ronald de Boer will play on the right-hand side of midfield in a 4. And on the left-hand side, Philip Cocu. That leaves Figo and Rivaldo up front.
Figo. He actually wills defenders to bring him down. Just to run straight across their bodies. Just requires a little touch, and down he goes sprawling. Puyol. It's a slow beat to that drum, and it's been a slow pace that both teams have played at. The cut and thrust of the Premiership. Tran, beautifully waiting. Gathers the ball. He's had a quiet evening in the Barcelona goal.
I think too quiet, to be honest. As I said earlier in the first half, I would like to see Ruud Hess tested a lot more, and he only has had one save of note to make, and that was in the first half from the attacking left back Romero.
Behu. Guardiola. Rivaldo. Figo to his left. Figo can hit them from here. Almost always hits the target and forces the goalkeeper into a save. You know what's coming when you're a keeper, you just can't stop it.
Yes, the only thing that surprised me here was he didn't do the little step over he favours. Left foot over the top of the ball and then onto his right foot. But he is a two-footed player and he's in double figures this season in terms of goals. And looking to improve it as well. And here it is. No step overs, just inside. And he hits the target.
Figo has scored in the last 2 league matches. It's his best ever return this season, actually. 12 goals in all competitions. 9 in the league. His previous best was 7. Gabri. Romero. Arturo Flores. He's a strange player, can be brilliant on his day. More often than that, he's frustrating. That's a good cross. Casually dealt with by Rudhesp. The camera was focusing on Guardiola there, the man who has so much influence on the field, but the man who has the influence on the touchline, Louis van Gaal, is set to replace him. Has been talking some of the Spanish gossip columns of Guardiola departing the Nou Camp and Xavi being his eventual successor. Has been on a number of occasions this season. Guardiola's actually been linked with 1 or 2 English clubs. It is the skipper who's going to come off. Coach's instructions, doesn't look too happy about it.
Well, he's played a big part, certainly in the game so far for me. Was instrumental with that wonderful lob pass over the top for Rivaldo's goal. And maybe he's just getting a little bit tired. It looks like Figo's taking over the captaincy.
Well, he is a man of the Catalan people, Josep Guardiola. The final few minutes is replaced by Xavi, the 21 international. He was the find of last season, actually made an impression on Louis van Gaal, saying this against Wolverhampton Wanderers when Barcelona came to England on a pre-season tour. Figo has just taken over the captain's armband and immediately gets a yellow card to go with it.
Well, it's a pity because he actually wins the ball. It's maybe a little bit of a lunge, and certainly in the view of the referee, he thought it warranted a yellow card.
Of scheduled time to go. Can Barcelona hang on to a vital single goal lead? The referee seems to be losing a little bit of control, Jerry. Hasn't obviously had the same directive as the English referees to put down on yellow cards. Mauro Silva was booked in the first half, and that, well, stupidly in my view, is a second yellow card, which leads to the Brazilian World Cup winner being forced off the field.
It's such an innocuous challenge here. You can see it's a bit of a hassle and a tussle between Ronald de Boer and himself, and I'm not sure that it warrants a second yellow card, and he's only just come back from a suspension, and I think they're going to miss him.
Well, that, for me, has spoilt the game. The referee's had a terrible game. He hasn't lived up to the standard set by the largely excellent Spanish referees, and Mauro Silva, needlessly it seems, sets off for the second time this month. He's come back after a red card against Malaga in the first week of March.
Flores. Manuel Pablo.
Last ditch attempt maybe from Deportivo. Flores blocked by an excellent challenge by Frank de Boer. Four minutes of stoppage time. Interesting interpretation, Cherry.
Well, I couldn't see 4 minutes of stoppage time for me, but maybe it was with the injury to DJALMINHA. I thought that was probably a minute or two, but not 4.
4 minutes for Deportivo to salvage a point. Barcelona clawing back important ground. If it stays like this, they'll be only a 2-point cushion between Deportivo and Barcelona. Barcelona will move into second place above Alaves, who have a vital game against Celta Vigo tomorrow. Alaves, the surprise team. Will there be a shock ending in this game at the Nou Camp? Gabri. Figo. Now Xavi. Bohari. Barcelona wisely making 10-man Deportivo chase. Dehu. Puyol. Rueta becomes ball boy. Figo fouled. Sure, wisely doesn't argue with the referee because he's one of the players who's been booked once. Those lightweight boots are about £half. Just about £150 to buy, but they rip easily, obviously. Coco. Rivaldo. Gives it to Bahari. Navarre. They play their football with a swagger, Barcelona, which is why they're so popular. Nervously, Guardiola watches the final 1.5 minutes, which the referee has added on. Intrigue time. Dehu. Tidies up, surprise choice ahead of Noureddine Nebet, the Moroccan. Good glance up there at the stadium clock from De Boer. Less than a minute to go. This is such a vital victory for Barcelona. After their November blues, they'd gone mad in March. Be primed for the third Spanish championship in a row. Now Pauletta's off. The referee sends off Pauletta. 2 red cards for Deportivo. It goes from bad to worse. Of course, in this game now it doesn't really matter, but the suspensions stack up.
Well, he's definitely lost it here. The free kick was given in favour of him. And as the ball's knocked back by Dehu, he comes straight through the back of him with the challenge just here, as you can see, and has a kick at him from behind, and he's got to go for that. It's a crazy challenge from Pauleta.
Iroueta's team have lost control. Deportivo down to 9 men. It's been a disastrous evening all round for Deportivo La Coruña. Had they won, they would have been 8 points clear of Barcelona, but they've lost. Barcelona have won. They've clawed back vital ground on Deportivo La Coruña, and with 10 games to go before tonight, 9 games to go now, this is a vital win, 2-1.
Thank you very much, Rob Palmer and Jerry Armstrong, live from the new camp in Barcelona. Stay tuned to Star Sports because we return in a few moments' time.
Barcelona have won their last 4 games at home. Deportivo in all competitions haven't won in 7 away. Oh! And the course of the game is changed within 20 seconds of the second half starting. Flavio with a lucky deflection.
Well, they couldn't score more than the second half, so it finished Barcelona 2, Deportivo La Coruña 1. All right.